The signal came from nowhere. Dr. Saul sat in her dark office aboard the listening station, surrounded by screens that showed nothing but empty space. For 300 years, humanity had been silent. They had pulled back behind a wall of their own making, hiding in the darkness beyond Neptune. The Shroud, they called it, a field of sensors and jammers that made human space invisible to the rest of the galaxy. Saul had been studying alien languages for 15 years, but she had never expected to actually hear one. Not out here, not in the forbidden dark. The computer beeped once, then again. She sat up straight, her coffee forgotten. The screen flickered to life with waveforms and symbols. An SOS, a real distress call, punching through the shroud like a knife through paper. "Computer, translate," she whispered. The machine worked for 30 seconds. Then words appeared on her screen. "Help us, they are killing everyone. Please, someone save the children." Saul's hands shook. She hit the emergency alert and watched as red lights began flashing throughout the station. Within minutes, Captain Han appeared on her communication screen. He looked tired. He always looked tired these days. "This better be real, Doctor," Han said. "It's real. A species from the inner quadrant. They're being invaded." Han was quiet for a long moment. "Show me." Saul played the signal. The translation scrolled across both their screens. There were sounds in the background, explosions, screaming, a child crying. "Who's attacking them?" Han asked. "The Dominion, a predator species. They're known for," Saul paused, "for taking worlds and enslaving the survivors." Han closed his eyes. "How long do we have?" "Maybe a week, maybe less." The captain nodded slowly. "Send it up the chain, all the way to Admiral." "Sir, the silence protocol." "I know what the protocol says, Doctor. Send it anyway." The signal went up, from the listening station to the command post, from there to the dark structures floating in the void beyond Neptune's orbit, ships, hundreds of them, the hidden armada. For 300 years these ships had waited. They were built by a humanity that had learned a terrible lesson. Once, humans had trusted the galaxy. They had joined the Galactic Council. They had shared their technology and their friendship. The galaxy had betrayed them. When Earth needed help, no one came. When human colonies burned, the Council debated and did nothing. Species that humans had called friends turned away. Some even helped the attackers, hopping to claim human worlds for themselves. So humanity had withdrawn. They had taken their survivors, their technology, and their anger, and they had vanished into the dark. The Silence Protocol was born. Never again would humans reach out. Never again would they trust. But they had never stopped listening. Admiral stood in the command center of the dreadnought Iron Monsoon. The ship was 3 kilometers long, built in secret over 50 years. Around him, holographic displays showed the position of every ship in the hidden armada. 500 warships, all waiting for orders that might never come. The emergency council assembled in minutes. Admirals, captains, engineers, and doctors. All of them appeared on screens around. All of them had heard the SOS. "We cannot help them," said one admiral. "The protocol exists for a reason." "They're being slaughtered," another voice argued. "We have the power to stop it. We also have the responsibility to protect our own people. If we reveal ourselves, the galaxy will know we're here. They'll come for us again." Let them argue. He had already made his decision, but the fleet needed to choose for themselves. That was how humanity did things now. Every voice mattered. Captain Han spoke up. "I've read the transmissions, every one of them. They're not begging for themselves. They're begging for their children. They've evacuated entire cities just to protect their nurseries. They're dying to save their young." The council grew quiet. 300 years ago," Han continued, "we begged for help. We called out to the galaxy. We asked them to save our children, and no one came." The silence stretched. Every person in that council remembered. if not personally, then through the stories, the burning colonies, the desperate messages, the empty sky where help should have been. "I will not become what they were," said quietly. "I will not ignore a cry for help. I will not let children die when I have the power to save them." He looked around at all the faces on the screens. "But this is not my choice alone. This is our choice. The silence protocol was made by all of us. It can only be broken by all of us. So we vote, now." The voting took 3 minutes. 500 ships, 500 crews, thousands of humans who had lived their entire lives in the dark, hidden from a galaxy that had betrayed their grandparents. The vote was unanimous. Every single person voted to help. Felt something loosen in his chest, something that had been tight for a very long time. "Dr. Saul," he said into the communication channel. "Yes, Admiral." "Send a message to the, tell them help is coming, tell them to hold on." "What if they intercept it?" Smiled. It was not a kind smile. "I hope they do." Around Neptune, the hidden armada began to wake. Ships that had floated silent for decades suddenly came alive. Engines that could push vessels to impossible speeds started their warm-up cycles. Weapons systems that had never been fired in anger ran their final checks. In the armory of the Iron Monsoon, Commander Wu walked among her Marines. They were checking their armor, their weapons, their drop pods. These were soldiers born on Earth, trained in gravity that would crush most alien species. They had never seen combat. They had trained their entire lives for a war that might never come. Now it was coming. "Listen up," Wu called out. "We're breaking the silence. We're going to save people we've never met from an enemy we've only read about. The galaxy forgot about us. They think we're gone. They think we're weak." She looked at each of her Marines. "Let's remind them what happens when you wake up a..." The fleet began to move, slowly at first, then faster. They slipped past Neptune, past Uranus, gathering speed. The shroud collapsed behind them, no longer needed. For the first time in 300 years, humanity was going to war. And the galaxy had no idea what was coming. The galaxy noticed immediately. On the monitoring station orbiting Prime, a technician named was watching his screens when they suddenly went crazy. Gravitational sensors were screaming. Energy signatures were spiking. Something massive was moving through space at speeds that should not be possible. Checked his instruments 3 times. Then he called his supervisor. "Something's coming out of the Sol system," he said. "Sol," his supervisor made a confused gesture with her tentacles. "Nothing lives there anymore. The humans vanished centuries ago." "Well, something's there now, something big, multiple contacts, hundreds of them." The news spread through the Galactic Council like fire. Within hours, every major species knew. The humans were back. Panic followed quickly. The older species remembered humans. They remembered the wars before the betrayal. They remembered ships that could take damage that would destroy any other vessel. They remembered soldiers who fought with a ferocity that terrified everyone who faced them. They remembered that humans came from a planet so dangerous that just surviving childhood there made you stronger than most adult aliens. But the galaxy had thought humans were broken, defeated, gone. The council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from 100 species gathered in virtual space, all talking at once. Why are they moving? Where are they going? Are they coming for revenge? One voice cut through the noise. Ambassador of the Empire. Her species had been among those who refused to help humanity during the dark times. "We should send a diplomatic mission, immediately." "And say what?" another ambassador demanded. "Sorry we let your colonies burn." "We say whatever we need to say to keep them from destroying us all." Aboard the Iron Monsoon, Admiral ignored every communication attempt from the council. They had 300 years to talk. He had nothing to say to them now. Instead, he focused on his fleet. Engineer Na was in the weapons bay, running final checks on the kinetic cannons. These were humanity's answer to the galaxy's energy shields. While other species had spent centuries perfecting shield technology, humans had gone a different direction. Why block something when you can just hit it harder? Na muttered as she calibrated the magnetic accelerators. The kinetic cannons fired solid projectiles at 15% of light speed. At that velocity, it didn't matter if you had shields. The laws of physics didn't care about your force fields. A chunk of metal moving that fast would punch through anything. Na had designed these weapons herself. She had never seen them used in real combat. Part of her was excited. Part of her was terrified. Lieutenant Bora Sung sat in the cockpit of her fighter, running through the pre-flight checks for the 100th time. The fighter was small, fast, and deadly. It was also designed to kill its pilot. Not on purpose, but human fighters pulled maneuvers that would knock out or kill most alien pilots. 18G turns, instant acceleration, sudden stops that would turn a normal being into paste. Bora and her fellow pilots trained in centrifuges since childhood. Their bodies were conditioned to handle forces that seemed impossible. They wore special suits that helped their hearts keep pumping blood when the G-forces tried to pull it all to their feet. She looked at the picture taped to her console. Her grandmother, one of the survivors of the colony attacks, one of the people who had screamed into the void for help that never came. "This one's for you, Grandma," Bora whispered. The fleet was a sight to see. The Iron Monsoon led the way, a massive dreadnought bristling with weapons. Around it flew heavy cruisers, each one carrying enough firepower to level a city. Beyond them, destroyers and frigates moved in perfect formation. And then there were these ships carried crews from humanity's high-gravity colonies, planets where the pull of gravity was even stronger than Earth. People who had grown up in 1.5 or even 2G, they were shorter than normal humans, broader, with bones like steel and muscles like cables. In normal gravity, they could crush metal with their bare hands. In combat, they were monsters. Captain Han watched his crew work. They moved with efficiency born from endless training. Every person knew their job. Every system was ready. On the bridge, Dr. Saul was monitoring galactic communications. She translated the panic, the fear, the desperate attempts to understand what was happening. "Admiral," she said, "the Dominion has intercepted our message to the—" "And—" They're laughing, sir. They don't believe we're real." Nodded, "Show me." The transmission played. A commander, his scales gleaming under harsh lights, was addressing his fleet. "These humans are a myth," they said. "A story the prey species tell themselves to feel brave. Even if they were real, they've been hiding for centuries. They're cowards. Let them come. We'll add them to our slave pens." The bridge of the Iron Monsoon went very quiet. Commander Wu, who was visiting the bridge, spoke first. "I'm going to enjoy meeting that one." "Get in line," Bora said over the communication channel. Studied the tactical display. They had a massive fleet around Prime, 300 warships, orbital bombardment platforms, ground forces in every major city. Under normal circumstances, they would be nearly impossible to dislodge. Na said, "How are the weapons?" "Ready to introduce the to Sir Isaac Newton, sir." "Bora, your fighters." "Ready to show them what it can do in a cockpit, Admiral." "Wu, your Marines." "Ready to educate them on ground combat, sir." Allowed himself a small smile. "Good. We have 40 days until we reach Prime. Use that time well. Train, prepare, rest when you can." He paused. "The galaxy forgot about us. They forgot what we can do. They forgot why Earth is classified as a Class 12, the highest danger rating in the entire galaxy. They forgot that we are the species that looked at a planet trying to kill us every single day and said, 'We're staying anyway.'" The crew listened. "In 40 days, we're going to remind them. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten children in front of a human. We're going to demonstrate why predator species from peaceful worlds should never, ever challenge a predator species from a. He looked around his bridge. We're going to war, not for territory, not for resources, not for glory. We're going to war because someone called for help and we're the only ones who answered. Make sure you're ready. The crew saluted. Over the next 40 days, the fleet prepared. Marines trained in the simulation rooms, fighting against AI opponents programmed with tactics. Pilots ran drills until they could fly their ships blind. Engineers checked and rechecked every system. Dr. Saul continued to monitor the transmissions. Each day they got more desperate. They were tightening their grip. Cities were falling. But in every transmission they mentioned their children. Their young were still alive, still protected. They're buying time, Saul told Han. Every adult that stands and fights is giving the children more time to survive. Then we'd better not waste the time they're giving us, Han replied. 3 days from Prime, Admiral gave the order. All ships go dark, full stealth protocols, no emissions, no communications, we coast from here. The hidden armada disappeared from every sensor in the galaxy. The ships went silent, their heat signatures masked, their energy readings flatlined. To the fleet, they simply ceased to exist. In the darkness, 500 human warships drifted toward their target. In the darkness, thousands of human soldiers prepared for battle. In the darkness, humanity remembered what it was like to be helpless. And humanity decided that no one else would feel that way, not while humans could do something about it. They had no idea they were coming. That was exactly how the humans wanted it. The journey through the dark was long and hard. Medic Da moved through the medical bay of the Iron Monsoon, checking on crew members who were suffering from the side effects of the slip-space drive. It was new technology, developed in secret during humanity's isolation. It let ships travel faster than anything else in the galaxy. It also made people sick. "How are you feeling?" she asked a young engineer who was lying on a bed, his face pale. "Like my insides are on the outside," he groaned. "That's normal. The slip-space drive messes with your inner ear. Drink this." She handed him a medication that would help with the nausea. The slip-space drive worked by partially shifting the ship into another dimension. It was faster than the warp drives other species used, but human biology barely tolerated it. Every crew member on the fleet was dealing with headaches, nausea, and disorientation. But they pushed through. That was what humans did. They endured. In the tactical room, Jin studied the intelligence reports from Prime. As the fleet's chief tactician, it was his job to plan the battle. The problem was that they had overwhelming numbers. 300 warships against 500 human ships. On paper, humans had the advantage, but they also had orbital bombardment platforms, ground forces, defensive positions. And they had hostages. Jin watched the latest transmission. It showed a city on fire, soldiers dragging civilians from their homes. And then he saw something that made his blood run cold. They were using their own bodies to shield their nurseries, adults forming walls of flesh between thee and their young. "They're dying to save their children," he whispered. Captain Han entered the room. "What are you seeing, Jin?" "Sacrifice. Every transmission is the same. They don't fight back because they're not warriors, but they'll die before they let them reach their young." And watch the screens. How long can they hold? Maybe a week, maybe less. They are getting frustrated. They're starting to execute civilians to make the others talk. Then we need to be faster. In the training rooms, Sergeant Hay-Na put her Special Forces team through drills. They practiced urban combat, hostage rescue, close quarters fighting, everything they might need on Prime. "Remember," Hay-Na called out as her team cleared a simulated building. "They are civilians. They're terrified. They don't know we're coming. Don't scare them more than they already are." "What about the asked one of her soldiers. Haina's smile was sharp. They can be as scared as they want. Her team was the best of the best. Every one of them had trained for 20 years or more. They could march for days without rest, fight for hours without tiring, survive in conditions that would kill most species. They were ready to show the galaxy what that meant. Across the fleet, similar preparations were happening. Engineers stockpiled ammunition. Pilots memorized the layout of space. Medical teams prepared for mass casualties. And everyone watched the transmissions from Prime. Dr. Saul had the hardest job. She had to translate everything, every cry for help, every threat, every heartbreaking message as another city fell. One transmission made her stop completely. It was a mother. She was speaking directly to the camera, her alien features twisted in grief. "To whoever hears this," the mother said, "we know no one is coming. We know we're alone, but if anyone ever finds this, know that we tried. We tried to save them. Every one of our children mattered, every single one." The transmission cut to black. Saul played it 3 more times, then she sent it to Admiral. The Admiral watched it in silence. Then he called a fleet-wide meeting. "I want every person in this fleet to see this," he said. "I want you to understand what we're fighting for." The transmission played on every screen in every ship. 500 vessels, thousands of humans, all of them watching a mother from a species they'd never met, talking about saving children. When it ended, the silence was complete. Then from somewhere on one of the ships, someone started singing. It was an old Earth song, a battle hymn from centuries ago, about standing up for those who couldn't stand for themselves. The song spread, ship to ship, voice to voice, thousands of humans singing together in the dark. The Dominion intercepted the transmission. They heard the singing. They analyzed it with their computers. The commander from before appeared on their communication channels. "Humans," he sneered, "so you are real, and you're coming to save the prey species. How noble, how stupid. You've been hiding for 300 years. You're weak. You're soft. We'll crush you just like we're crushing the—" He paused for effect. "And when we're done with you, we'll take your worlds too. We'll make slaves of every human we capture. Your children will grow up in our pens, working until they die. Come if you want. You'll just be adding yourselves to our collection." The transmission ended. On the bridge of the Iron Monsoon, Admiral's expression didn't change, but his crew saw his hands tighten on the command console. "Jin," the Admiral said calmly, "change of plans. I want that commander alive." "Sorry." "Alive. I want him to stand trial for his threats against human children. I want him to face justice." Jin nodded. "Yes, sir, I'll make sure the teams know." Commander Wu leaned forward. "Admiral, permission to be the one who captures him." "Granted, but remember, Commander, alive." "He'll be alive," Wu promised. "He just won't be happy about it." The fleet continued its dark approach. They were 2 days from Prime now, close enough that they could see the planet on their long-range sensors, close enough to see the fires burning on the surface. Lieutenant Bora Sung sat in her fighter, running final checks. She had painted something on her cockpit, a small symbol, the character for Guardian. Dr. Saul had taught it to her. "We're not just warriors," Bora had said. "We're guardians now. That's what they called us in their prayers. They didn't think anyone would answer, but we did." All across the fleet, similar symbols appeared, on fighters, on marine armor, on the hulls of ships. They had called for guardians. The humans were answering. Captain Han walked through his ship, checking on his crew. He found Medic Dup preparing the medical bay for casualties. "How bad do you think it will be?" he asked. "Honestly, I don't know. We've never fought a real battle before. All our training, all our preparation, it's all theory." "Are you scared?" They considered the question. "Yes, but I'm more angry than scared. Those threatened children, human children, children doesn't matter. They threaten children." She looked at Han. I became a doctor to save lives. But I became a military doctor because sometimes you have to fight to protect the lives worth saving. Today, we fight. 24 hours before the battle, Admiral made his final address to the fleet. In one day, we break our 300-year silence. We reveal ourselves to a galaxy that betrayed us. We fight for people we've never met against an enemy that thinks we're weak. He paused. They're wrong, we're not weak. We survived on a planet that tried to kill us with weather, predators, diseases, and disasters. We didn't just survive, we thrived. We built civilizations, we reached for the stars. The Admiral's voice grew harder. And then the galaxy taught us another lesson. They taught us that the universe isn't just dangerous because of nature. It's dangerous because of cruelty, because of evil, because there are species out there who prey on the weak. He looked directly at the camera. They are about to learn what happens when they prey on someone in front of a human. They're about to learn that we don't forget, we don't forgive, and we don't run away. The fleet listened. Tomorrow we arrive at Prime. Tomorrow we show the galaxy that they are back. Tomorrow we remind everyone why Earth is the most dangerous planet in known space. Admiral smiled. Tomorrow we go to war, not for conquest, not for glory. We go to war because someone asked for help. And when a child cries out in the dark, humans answer. The fleet began final preparations. Weapons were armed. Shields were charged. Marines loaded into their drop pods. And in the dark, 500 human warships drifted toward Prime, invisible and silent. They had no idea they were there. In 18 hours, they would find out. And the galaxy would never be the same. The battle began at dawn. On Prime, the sun was rising over the capital city when the human fleet materialized. One moment, the sensors showed empty space. The next moment, 500 warships appeared at point-blank range. The commander didn't even have time to give orders before the humans opened fire. Engineer now fired the first shot. A kinetic round accelerated to 15% of light speed. It crossed the distance to the nearest capital ship in less than a second. They had shields, good shields. They could stop energy weapons, deflect missiles, absorb laser fire. They couldn't stop a solid chunk of tungsten traveling at 45,000 kilometers per second. The round punched through the shield like it wasn't there. It punched through the hull, through 3 decks, through the reactor core, out the other side. The ship exploded. Direct hit, Nuss said calmly, reloading. All across the human fleet, kinetic cannons fired. The fleet started dying. Admiral watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. They were trying to respond, but they were too slow. Their ships were designed to fight enemies who used energy weapons. They had never encountered anything like human kinetic weapons. They're trying to close the distance, reported Jin. They want to get into beam weapon range. Let them try, said. Launch fighters. Lieutenant Bora-sung felt her fighter launch from the iron monsoon like a bullet from a gun. The acceleration would have killed most species. She barely noticed it. Dragon Wing, form up on me, she called to her squadron. We're going hunting. Her fighter screamed toward the fleet at speeds that made their sensors glitch. Fighters scrambled to intercept, but they were too slow. Bora pulled an 18G turn that would have turned a pilot into paste. Her fighter spun, twisted, and came up behind 3 enemy ships. Too easy, she muttered and fired. The fighters exploded. Their pilots never knew what hit them. All around her, human fighters were doing the same thing. They moved like demons, pulling maneuvers that should have been impossible. The pilots couldn't track them, couldn't predict them, couldn't stop them. In 10 minutes, the fighter screen was gone. On the ground, the occupation force was in chaos. They had detected the fleet battle above and were trying to fortify their positions. They dragged civilians into the open, planning to use them as shields. They never got the chance. Commander Wu's drop pod hit the ground like a meteor. The impact crater was 3 meters deep. The pod door blew off and Wu stepped out, her armor gleaming in the morning light. All around the city, more drop pods landed, hundreds of them, each one carrying a human marine in powered armor. The soldiers stared. They had never seen humans before. They didn't understand what they were looking at. Then the humans started moving. Wu covered 20 meters in 3 seconds. She grabbed a soldier who was holding a civilian and threw him 30 feet through the air. He hit a wall and didn't get up. "Hostiles at the command center," called one of her Marines. "They've got civilians." "I'm on it," said Sergeant Hay-Na. Hay-Na and her Special Forces team moved through the city like ghosts. They were trained for this. Urban combat, hostage rescue, precision work. They found the command center in minutes. The enemy commander was inside, surrounded by guards and holding children hostage. "Bad choice," Hay-Na said quietly. Her team moved in perfect coordination. Flash grenades, smoke, breaching charges. The door exploded inward and the Special Forces team flooded in. The guards fired, but human armor was designed to take hits. The bullets bounced off. The energy weapons barely scorched the paint. Hay-Na shot the weapon out of the guard commander's hand, then hit him with a punch that sent him flying across the room. "Secure the hostages," she ordered. Her team moved to the terrified children, speaking softly in their language. Dr. Saul had taught them the phrases. "It's okay, we're here to help, you're safe now." The commander tried to run. Hay-Na caught him by the neck and lifted him off his feet. "Remember me," she said. "I'm the one who's taking you to trial." Above the planet, the space battle was turning into a slaughter. The capital ships were trying to fight back, but they couldn't match human firepower. Their beam weapons were designed for long-range combat. The humans had appeared too close, inside their optimal range. And human point defense systems were incredible. Na watched as the enemy fired missiles at the Iron Monsoon. The ship's automated defenses tracked every single one. Lasers flickered out, intercepting 99 out of every 100 missiles. The few that got through hit armor designed to survive asteroid impacts. "They're not even scratching us," Na reported. "Good," said Admiral. "Focus fire on their bombardment platforms. I don't want them dropping anything else on that planet." The human fleet shifted targets. The orbital bombardment platforms were heavily armored, but they were also stationary. Easy targets. Kinetic rounds slammed into them. One by one, the platforms exploded or went dark. Captain Han was coordinating the overall battle from his position on the Iron Monsoon's bridge. He watched as ships tried to retreat, only to find human destroyers cutting off their escape routes. "They're trying to surrender," reported the communications officer. "Tell them to power down their weapons and wait for boarding parties," Han ordered. "Anyone who resists will be destroyed." Most of the ships immediately. A few tried to fight. They died. Lieutenant Bora Sung was chasing down a heavy cruiser when it tried to make a run for it. The ship activated its jump drive, trying to escape into faster-than-light travel. Bora fired a missile that knocked out the drive before it could complete the jump. The cruiser spun helplessly in space. "Gotcha," Bora said. "Destroyer Group 3, that one's yours for boarding." On the ground, the battle was almost over. The soldiers were surrendering in groups. They threw down their weapons and put their hands up when they saw human Marines approaching. Commander Wu walked through the city, checking on her troops. They had taken minimal casualties. Human armor was just too good. Weapons couldn't penetrate it. She found a group of civilians huddled in a building. They looked terrified. Wu took off her helmet, showing her face. "It's okay," she said in their language. "The fighting is over, you're safe." A elder stepped forward slowly. You came. We didn't think anyone would come." "We came," Wu said simply. "When children are in danger, humans come." The elders started crying. Then all were crying. They rushed forward not to attack but to thank her, to touch her armor, to confirm she was real. Wu stood there, uncomfortable with the gratitude but accepting it. This was why they had come. This moment, these lives. Sergeant Hay now brought the captured commander out of the building. The enemy leader was bruised and furious. "You can't do this," he snarled. "We are the Dominion, we take what we want. We are the predators of this galaxy." Hayna looked at him with cold eyes. "You were predators on planets of prey," she said. "But you made a mistake. You threatened children in front of, you tried to be predators on our watch." She leaned closer. "We're predators too, but we're predators from a planet that makes your look like a paradise. We're predators who evolved by hunting things that could hunt us back, and now you're going to face justice." The commander paled. In orbit, Admiral received the final reports. The battle had lasted 36 hours, not because they were tough, but because the humans had been careful. They had minimized civilian casualties, protected infrastructure, made sure no ship escaped to threaten other worlds. "Casualties?" he asked. 14 wounded. No deaths," reported Medic Duh. "The wounded are already recovering." 14 wounded out of thousands of Marines, against an entrenched enemy force. And casualties. Over 80% of their fleet destroyed or captured. Ground forces completely neutralized. Their command structure is in custody. Nodded. It was what he expected. They had been fighting prey species for so long they'd forgotten what real predators looked like. Captain Han walked onto the bridge. "Admiral, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy. Everyone wants to know what just happened." "Let them wonder," said. "For now, focus on helping get medical teams on the ground. Start repairs to their cities. Show them that we're here to help, not conquer." Down on the planet, Commander Wu's Marines were already doing exactly that. They were helping clear rubble, providing medical care, protecting the while they recovered. They couldn't believe it. These powerful warriors were helping them, protecting them, asking nothing in return. "Who are you?" asked the leader. Wu smiled. "We're humans, we're from Earth, and we're the ones who answer when someone calls for help." In space, the last ship was attempting to escape. It was damaged, limping away from the battlefield. Bora Sung intercepted it effortlessly. "This is Lieutenant Bora Sung of the Earth Defense Fleet," she transmitted. "Power down and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning." The ship didn't power down. It tried to fire on her fighter. Bora dodged the beam weapon easily and put a missile through their engine. "That was your choice," she said. The battle for Prime was over. The humans had won, and the galaxy had watched every second of it. The aftermath was stranger than the battle. They emerged from their shelters slowly, carefully, unable to believe the fighting was truly over. They had prepared to die. Every adult had said goodbye to their children, knowing they would never see them grow up. Instead, they found human soldiers guarding their streets, human medics treating their wounded, human engineers rebuilding what they had destroyed. In the capital city, Medicda set up a field hospital in what used to be a school. The building was damaged but still standing. She and her team worked around the clock, treating civilians. "This one has a broken leg," she called out, "and malnutrition. When was the last time you ate?" The mother looked ashamed. "We gave our food to the children." Da felt her throat tighten. "Well, we have plenty of food now. Let's get you both taken care of." Human medical technology was centuries ahead of what they had. Injuries that would have crippled them for life were healed in days. Diseases they thought were incurable were cured with simple injections. A young with a twisted spine came to the hospital. He had been injured in the bombardment, and the local doctors said he would never walk again. They studied his scans. "We can fix this. It'll take a week, but we can fix it." The young stared at her. "Really?" Really, we'll have you running around in no time. Word spread quickly. The humans weren't just soldiers, they were healers, builders, protectors. In orbit, Admiral was dealing with a different problem. The Galactic Council. Ambassador Na had arrived on the Iron Monsoon. She was humanity's diplomatic representative, though she hadn't had anyone to talk to for 300 years. Now, suddenly, the entire galaxy wanted to have a conversation. They're demanding answers, Na told the Admiral. They want to know why we attacked why we broke our isolation, what we want. What do you want to tell them? Asked. The truth, that we came to help people who needed it, that we'll do it again if we have to. Then tell them that. Na prepared her statement carefully. She knew this would set the tone for humanity's relationship with the galaxy for centuries to come. She addressed the Galactic Council from the bridge of the Iron Monsoon. Representatives from 100 species watched her transmission. 300 years ago, Na began, humanity asked the galaxy for help. Our colonies were burning, our people were dying. We begged you to intervene. She paused. You debated, you formed committees, you discussed, and while you talked, our children died. The council chambers were silent. So we left. We built a wall around our space and we swore we would never trust you again. We would never need you again. We would never ask you for anything again. Na's voice grew stronger. But we also swore something else. We swore that if we ever heard someone else crying out for help, someone else begging to save their children, we would answer. Because we remember what it's like to be helpless. We remember when no one came. She looked directly at the camera. They sent an SOS. They asked for help saving their children. We answered. We will always answer. That is who humanity is now. One of the council members spoke up. It was Ambassador, the one who had refused to help humans during the dark times. You destroyed an entire fleet, said. You violated galactic law. You interfered in territorial expansion. Na's expression didn't change. They were enslaving civilians and executing children. We don't recognize any law that allows that. But you can't just attack other species whenever you want. We didn't attack because we wanted to, Na replied calmly. We attacked because children were dying and we could save them. If that happens again, we will attack again. We will always choose to save children over following your laws. Another ambassador spoke up. Are you threatening the council? No, we're making a promise. Humanity is back. We're not asking to rejoin the council. We're not asking for anything. We're telling you how things are going to be. She leaned forward. If anyone sends an SOS, if anyone cries out for help, if anyone's children are in danger and they call for aid, humanity will answer. We don't care about your politics. We don't care about your territorial disputes. We care about people who can't defend themselves. The council erupted in argument. Some species were angry, some were afraid, some were quietly grateful. Down on Prime, General Wu Han was coordinating the reconstruction effort. His engineers were working alongside civilians, rebuilding homes and infrastructure. How long until the power grid is restored? He asked. 3 days, reported his chief engineer. We could do it faster, but we're training them to maintain it themselves. We're not going to rebuild their world and then leave them dependent on us. That was important. The humans weren't here to conquer or control. They were here to help, and then they would leave. A leader approached General Wu Han. Her name was Elder, and she spoke for the city council. General, she said, we want to thank you. We want to offer you anything you need. Resources, territory, anything. Wu Han shook his head. We don't want payment. We came because you needed help. But you must want something. Everyone wants something. We want you to be safe. We want your children to grow up in peace. That's all. Elder looked confused. I don't understand. You're the most powerful military force we've ever seen. You could take whatever you wanted. Wu Han was quiet for a moment. 300 years ago, we were weak. We were defenseless. We begged for help and no one came. We swore we would never let that happen to anyone else. He looked at the rebuilding city. We became strong so we could protect those who can't protect themselves. That's our purpose now. That's why we answer the call. News of what happened at Prime spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every species learned the same things. The humans were back. They were incredibly powerful, and they would fight to protect the innocent. Some species were terrified. The Dominion sent a formal complaint to the Galactic Council, demanding reparations from humanity for the destruction of their fleet. Admiral's response was broadcast galaxy-wide. The Dominion enslaved civilians, executed prisoners, and threatened to enslave human children. They will receive no reparations. Instead, they will face trial for war crimes. If they object, they're welcome to try and stop us. The went very quiet after that. Other species had different reactions. The weaker prey species, the ones who were always targets for predators, began to hope. Maybe someone would protect them. Maybe they weren't alone anymore. Several species sent quiet messages to human space. Not formal communications, just whispers. Thank you, we needed to know someone cared. On Prime, the humans were preparing to leave. The occupation was over. They were safe. The reconstruction was well. Captain Han walked through the capital city one last time. Everywhere he looked, he saw humans working side by side, laughing together, sharing meals. A small child ran up to him. She couldn't have been more than 5 years old in human terms. "Are you leaving?" the child asked. Han knelt down to her level. "Yes, we have to go home now." "Will you come back if we call you?" Han smiled. "Always, that's what guardians do." The child hugged him. Then she ran back to her family. Elder approached as Han stood up. "That's what my people are calling you now, the Guardians. Will you really come if we call?" "We will," Han promised. "We're leaving communication buoys in your system. If you need help, any help at all, you call us. We'll come." "Why?" asked. "Why do you care so much about strangers?" Han thought about that. "Because we were strangers once. We needed help and no one came. We know what that feels like. We won't let anyone else feel that way." The human fleet prepared to depart. 500 ships, now carrying prisoners and wounded but ready to return home. Admiral made one final broadcast from Prime. "To the galaxy," he said, "humanity has returned to known space. We come in peace, but we are not passive. We are not weak. We are from a Class 12 planet, and we have spent 300 years becoming stronger." He paused. "We do not seek conflict. We do not seek territory. We do not seek power. We seek only one thing: to protect those who cannot protect themselves." His voice grew harder. "But understand this. If anyone threatens those we have given our protection to, if anyone harms the innocent within our reach, if anyone preys on the weak while we can stop them, they will learn why Earth is classified as the most dangerous planet in the known galaxy." The message was clear. Humanity was back, and they were watching. The fleet left Prime with ceremony. They lined the streets of their cities, waving at the human ships as they departed. Children held up pictures they had drawn of human soldiers. Adults cried tears of gratitude. Lieutenant Bora Sung flew her fighter in a final salute, performing aerial maneuvers that spelled out Guardian in. Commander Wu watched from her transport. "We did good here," she said. "We did," agreed Sergeant Hay Na, "but this is just the beginning." The fleet returned to human space, to the darkness beyond Neptune, but things had changed. The silence protocol was modified. Humanity would no longer hide completely. They would watch. They would listen. And when the call came, they would answer. 3 months after the Battle of Prime, the first new SOS arrived. A species called the being raided by pirates. They had heard about the humans. They decided to try. "Please," their message said, If the stories are true, if the Guardians are real, we need help. Admiral read the message. He looked at his crew. Spin up the drives, he ordered. We're going out again. All across the fleet, humans prepared for deployment. They had found their purpose. They were no longer just survivors hiding in the dark. They were protectors, guardians. The galaxy was vast. It was dangerous. It was full of predators and prey. But now it had something new. It had humans who answered the call. And in the dark corners of space, in the places where the weak suffered and the strong prayed, a new whisper spread. Call the humans. The Guardians will come. The answer. Humanity had returned to the galaxy, not as conquerors, not as explorers, as guardians. And they would never stop answering the call. The end.